Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about a tiny epic Game of Thrones.
What?
That's right. It's tiny, but it's the throne. All right, this is designed by Scott Alms and is published by Gamelyn Games with the app.
Yeah, there's this big, giant world of Game of Thrones, right? This big universe, big characters, big plots, all kinds of stuff.
We don't actually know.
But I know it's big. But what we also know is this game is
Tiny.
epically tiny. Tiny and epic. So this is basically an area control style game where you are one of the many houses within the Game of Thrones world. And you are going to battle it out with your fellow players, but you're also going to be making alliances as well. No matter how many people you're playing with, there's going to be some kind of non-playing houses that are also in play, and you're going to try to make alliances with them even. You're going to take control of their troops. There's a lot going on with that. I love the alliance building. I love the area control going on. There's got a dice action selection mechanism where everyone gets a chance to draft some dice and use actions. Some of the actions everyone's going to use, some of the actions just you are going to use. So that's kind of the broad overview of Tiny Epic Game of Thrones. Let's get into our thoughts.
All right, so there's this track at the very top of your board. It tracks how much money you can earn, but it also is where you put your castles when you get them. The more castles you get, the less money you can earn. But you need money to do stuff, but the castles give you points. So it's that tug of war of trying to get castles because you need them. When you go to places, you're just going to get them. But you also need the money to do the fun things with the game as well. So I like how it has that mechanism where you can't just go all in or all in because you're not going to win if you do one way or the other. You need to do both strategically as the game progresses.
The dice selection was pretty interesting. So at the beginning of each round, whoever's first player, they're going to roll the dice, and then whoever's last in turn order, they're actually going to draft their dice first, but they don't get to resolve it first. So then it kind of goes backwards in turn order, coming back to the person who's first player, then they get their dice. They're going to be able to use that dice. And also, not only do you get to use the dice itself, but we place that dice on this board that shows all the different action options. When you place the dice, it doesn't have to match where you place with what you rolled. Wherever you place it, you yourself get that free action that only you are going to take. But then, whatever you rolled and whatever you selected, starting with you, everyone else at the table is also going to get that same action. So on your turn, you're going to get an action, but then everyone's going to get another action, including yourself. So you get 2 actions, everybody else gets 1. And the next player's turn, they're going to get an action, and then everybody's going to get an action. Then the next player's turn, they're going to get an action, and everybody's going to get an action. And even lower player counts, even in, let's say, a 2-player game, it feels like maybe you get less actions, right? Because there's less people selecting actions, so you don't get as many of the residual bonus actions. Not so. There's actually a little spot at the bottom of the bottom of the board that says, when you're drafting dice, you're also going to draft dice to this area, and then once you've resolved your normal actions, everyone's going to be able to also resolve these bonus actions. So you're getting a ton of actions each and every phase, which really kind of means you're not just kind of doing one thing, waiting around, one thing, waiting around, and then you get to do a lot of stuff each and every round.
In a lot of area control and area majority games, there is the potential, the downfall for a runaway leader. That's just how those games work. But this game did a great job of mitigating that from happening. The entire game, every time we played, we were pretty neck and neck with each other, even though somebody was obviously doing better on the board, and that's because the game gave you a ton of catch-up mechanisms. So there's, if you ever have one of your, I don't remember what they call them, warrior or whatever, come back to your board, you still got you still got the bonus that was revealed. You had spent the money to put them out there, so the game doesn't punish you. You still get that bonus that you would have gotten at the end of the game. And if you are the last scoring person at the end of the scoring phases, you also get this vengeance marker, which gives you points if you ever start a battle. So it's, even though you're not doing well, it's still encouraging you to go out and do stuff on the board. And so I just like that the game offered a bunch of these catch-up mechanisms, so that way it wasn't like pointless to continue playing. I'm sure we've all been there when we're playing a game and we're like, we don't even need to finish because we already know what's happening. And I felt like the game was giving you at least the feeling that you could come back and win.
The alliances worked in a kind of a neat way. First of all, let's say even in a 2-player battle, you still had a bunch of different families out on the board taking up space. So you never just had this super empty board. You had the non-playing characters already out there kind of ready to be either attacked or to be partnered with as an alliance. I also thought that it was cool how when you made alliances with these different troops or these different families, you then could kind of take over their leader. Their leader would come to your aid. You can draft them as well. You can kind of recruit them. Also, there was all of their pieces become your pieces in a sense. And then, so therefore, all the castles they've earned, you've earned. All the money that they would get as income, you get as income. So you don't want it to be the person who's not getting any of the alliances, because you really want to capitalize, because you only have a limited number of troops. So if you can get more troops by being allied with other families, you're going to be that much better off. They all give you kind of miniature special abilities, as well as points as well. So you want to take advantage as much of that as possible. It was a really cool system. And so all the card play drove a lot of that. You'd play cards that would kind of give you extra of the little influence markers or whatever that kind of made it so that you could partner up with these and be in an alliance with these different families. But also, it wasn't like a guaranteed thing. Once you became an alliance with one of the families, it's not like you were just with them the entire rest of the game. Some other players could kind of surpass you in that influence, and then therefore they take that from you. Now they're using all that stuff against you that you were just using for yourself the previous turn.
And then you lose all your castles.
So, and that is one kind of bookkeeping thing that you need to keep track of, is who's in control of what castles, who's in charge of which family, and which family has in charge of which castles. You might need to swap those out. There's a little bit of bookkeeping you got to keep track of. Even as you take control of a land, you might grab one, and when you move out of that land, you got to put it back. Keep track of all that. It can get a little hard to manage, but the board is small enough to where you can kind of still see everything that you need to see and keep track of that as long as you're paying attention.
All right, so overall, this is actually a really good game. It just wasn't my jam, but that doesn't mean it wasn't good, because it actually was. It's just not something that I'm going to gravitate towards. But if you like that type of area control, area majority type game, and you like Game of Thrones, this is almost like a no-brainer. You're going to enjoy this game. And the amount of time it took to play was really short. I feel like a lot of those type of games kind of tend to be more like war games, and they take a long time. This didn't. This was a very short game, and it worked perfect with the theme, with the trying to get different alliances, and sometimes you are allied and then sometimes you're not, and how that just works with that. It just wasn't my game, but it was really good.
Yeah, there's some neat things going on in this game. I also am not a big area control, area majority kind of a person, but nonetheless, this was a slick system, and it was quick. It didn't overstay its welcome. There's also the Dized app has a widget to teach this game. It actually did a really great job of teaching the game, get us started, get us kind of going, get us into the theme, get us into the mood of it all, and get us our first turns kind of walked through. There was some clarifications we needed to do with the rulebook, but together with the Dized app and the rulebook, we were able to get everything we needed and get it pretty quickly. So that worked out really well. Yeah, like I said, Bethany said, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, if you like area control in a small box, you can't do much better than this.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see all our videos as they come out. Until then, you can find us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye. You guys, thanks so much for watching. This game was provided to us by a publisher in exchange for a fair and honest review.
And if you want to see more stuff, check out over here to see something we think you might like.
And over here, we think that YouTube has picked out a great video for you you're going to love. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.